I have a friend in Cincinnati, Roger Grine, who's a CPA, and he invested in tech stocks a number of years ago. And he went from being a wealthy man to a multimillionaire when the tech stocks soared. At the time, I had a young adult ministry in Cincinnati, and I went to Roger and asked for some contributions, and Roger was very generous. He gave to all kinds of charitable contributions. But he realized that his money, wealthy as he was, wasn't unlimited, and he started a program called Magnified Giving. And he would give scholarships to high schools, give away this money, and with the understanding that the high school would form a philanthropy club, and then the kids would come together and then they would decide with this chunk of money that Roger gave them how they would solicit grant proposals, and then the kids would decide what was worthy of the contribution. So it was a way of teaching philanthropy to the high school kids. And Roger funded that out of his largesse for several years. But then when the stock market crashed a number of years ago, Roger lost virtually everything. He wasn't poverty-stricken. He was a CPA. He still had his own firm. He could provide for himself. But he no longer had the ability to make large donations. And I got a kick out of that. For years, I had come to him and asked for contributions for my ministry. Then he had to humble himself, and he sent out letters to all these people saying, I have this foundation called Magnified Giving. And he wrote me a letter saying, hey, Father Michael, would you contribute to this foundation? As he did to so many people that he used to give money to and to wealthy friends of his. I talked to Roger about that, and he said, by all means, share his story. He said, when I was a very wealthy man, I gave generously, but there was a sense of pride in my giving of, I'm Roger, and I'm wealthy, and I'm giving you this money. Use it for a good purpose. But then when he lost everything, he had to be the beggar. And he said, I want kids to learn the importance of giving. Would you help me help others? Can you give a contribution to this cause? And he said, I learned more in my poverty than I ever did in my wealth. Roger was happy as a wealthy man, and he's happy as a man of modest means. He's echoing what St. Paul is saying in the letter to the Philippians. I can be wealthy, I can be poor. I can live in luxury, I can live very, very simply. I've learned the secret not to be thrown off course. Most of us haven't learned that secret. When things are going well and there's money in the bank and everybody loves us, then that's a life of sobriety, a life of serenity, a life of happiness. But when our stocks go down, when our marriage is on the rocks, when our relationship with the kids are difficult, when we're struggling to put two nickels together to our name, and for many of us, we start to feel sorry for ourselves, and then we turn to all kinds of bad addictive behaviors, whether it's drugs or alcohol or gambling or sex or whatever it is, something to say, I'm still a worthwhile person, even though I got these struggles in my life. And St. Paul says that's backwards. We're always loved by God. And what we want to do is discover the secret of happiness, which is believing that in all the circumstances of our lives, God is calling us to holiness and happiness and health. Health, especially spiritually, so that we're not blown about by the winds of fortune. Roger Grine learned that. St. Paul learned that, and it's the lesson that Jesus calls us to in today's gospel. Amen? Amen.
Heart to heart, hand in hand, praying for grace to understand.